So this week in WoW includes one of the best farms in the game, and I think a lot of people have been missing out on this farm. And this is going to allow you to farm up some of the best and coolest transmog sets in the entirety of the game, and also make a good amount of gold on top of that. And this farm is going to be the PvP brawl of this week, Comp Stomp. Now I know a lot of people probably just clicked off because they heard PvP, but Comp Stomp is against AIs. You're not actually going against other players. You're basically just entering a battleground with you and other players on your team, and you just fight against AI. And these matches generally take under 5 minutes, but you're still getting the normal things you would be getting from a normal battleground, and you can also get some additional things much more easily. So let's just go over all of the rewards you can get from doing this farm, and we'll go over what you can use those rewards on. So first off, you have the most basic thing of honor, killing any of these AI, capturing any of the different bases, and then winning the match. You'll just get bunches of honor built up. You'll either be able to spend that on some items to get some gold, or you'll just be able to spend that on PvP gear if you want to get into PvP, or maybe gear up alts, because remember, you can trade honor between all of your characters. So let's say you're somebody that does PvP, or you want to more specifically gear up another alt with that honor. You can just get on one character and transfer it between characters. You'll also be earning a smaller amount of conquest, which is for the better PvP gear. You can't trade this between characters, but you're not gaining a ton of conquest for doing this. So unless you really want to max out one character of their conquest, that's not going to play too big of a role. And then you're also going to be earning marks of honor, which is the main way you're going to be earning a bunch of transmogs. And you can actually earn transmogs from pretty much any expansion in the game through these marks of honor. You'll usually get 1 per win, and then you'll also be getting a box per win that can give, I think, 1 to 3 marks of honor. So you usually get a handful from the box as well. And keep in mind, these matches are under 5 minutes and can even be done in like 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how good your group is. And with these marks of honor, you can go back and buy old PvP sets from every expansion. And from a majority of the expansion, you can also buy sets of weapon transmogs as well that are much more expensive, but you get a lot of transmog items through this, a lot of really cool appearances. And what's also really nice about this is that with the last patch 11.0.5, they added in these transmog sets for Dragonflight. So now you can go buy the PvP sets from Dragonflight and get all of those appearances. And what's even cooler is they added unique appearances into these sets that we never were able to obtain before. And more specifically, the massive two-handed sword, the Ashkander, which was one of the raid drops from Echo of Neltharius. This massive two-handed sword was previously only obtainable from that boss, so there was the recolors for the different raid difficulties, but now there are 2 more recolors from these PvP sets you can get with marks of honor. Now there's the green one, which anybody could get no matter if you PvP or not. It just takes marks of honor. But then there's also a blue version of this sword that if you're somebody that played rated PvP last season and you got the rank of elite, you could also buy the elite sets and get the blue sword. So tons of really high quality transmog items you can get with some new unique appearances, and this seems to be the best way in the game to farm marks of honor. I don't know of any other way in the game to farm more marks of honor more quickly than farming Comp Stomp. Now, in addition to all of this, you can also make some gold from farming this. The first one is going to require you have the Dark Moon Adventurer's Guide, which when the Dark Moon fares up, you just talk to one of the NPCs. They give you this book, and when you have this on you, you'll be able to earn these quest item starters through a lot of different content in the game, but some of these quest starter items are only obtainable in PvP, and all of these quest starter items can go from a few hundred gold to usually, say, upwards of 1,000 or maybe 2,000 gold. They usually end up selling more when the Dark Moon Fair is here because you turn all of these in once per Dark Moon Fair for a ton of additional Dark Moon prize tickets. And while you're in Comp Stomp, you can actually loot the enemies you're killing. So all of these AI, you can loot all of them. Now it does seem like you can only loot them once per match. Maybe if the match goes on longer, you can loot them an additional time, but anytime you loot one of these enemies, they have a chance to drop some of these quest starter items. I think the ones that are PvP specific are Fallen Adventurer's Journal, Banner of the Fallen, and Captured Insignia. So these ones usually sell for more gold as well. Just don't sell them in this week that Comp Stomp is active. Save them for later weeks where Comp Stomp isn't active, and you'll be able to make a decent amount of gold. Because even just looting all of these AI enemies once per match, you usually get 1 or a couple of these per match. Now, the best way to make gold through Comp Stomp is you can use your honor to buy vicious bloodstones from the PvP vendor. Now, this is a resource that you can go sell on the auction house. It's used to craft PvP gear and also augment that PvP gear. And more specifically, at that same vendor, you use 3 of these bloodstones and some honor, and you can get an item to add sockets to only PvP gear. So these are very sought after for anybody that PvPs, because being able to just add a ton of sockets to your gear is incredibly strong. So a lot of people just go to the auction house and buy these, but you can buy one of these for 2,500 honor, which won't take super long to farm up through Comp Stomp, because remember, these matches are incredibly fast. And the last time I checked, these bloodstones were around 6,000 to 7,000 gold a piece. So you can make a decent bit of gold just farming up these bloodstones. And these bloodstones have actually held in their price because a lot less people do PvP, and there isn't super good ways normally to just farm a ton of honor. But with Comp Stomp, it definitely seems to be a bit easier to farm honor right now. And if you're wanting to get any of the other things out of this farm, you'll just be making additional gold on top of that. Or if you want to just start PvPing and getting better gear, you can just use your honor to buy these and then buy the items to add sockets to your gear, and you'll just be able to progress your gear pretty quickly through that as well. And also remember, there is a weekly quest for this brawl that will give you a bunch of additional honor and conquests and marks of honor. So you're definitely going to want to be completing that. And if you also have a bunch of alts, you could also go through and just cycle through all of your alts to complete the weekly objective, because that gives you a pretty big chunk of additional honor and marks of honor. And since you're going against AI, if those characters aren't super geared or don't even have any PvP gear, you're generally still going to be fine, because even though these bots are much difficult than they were, say, at the end of Dragonflight, you still have basically a 0% chance to lose, even if the match takes longer, if, say, your whole group isn't super geared. But that's the entirety of this farm. This farm's going to last a whole week like all of the other brawls do. So I'll definitely recommend, if you want anything that we went over in this video, go and do this farm. It's incredibly quick. It's incredibly easy. And the rewards you get from this are some of the best in the game, especially if you're somebody that doesn't PvP or doesn't like PvP, but you're someone that likes to get a lot of different appearances in Transmog. This is the best week for you to do this, to get all of those marks of honor, to go buy all of those old PvP appearances. This is pretty much the only time in the game that you can get all of these PvP related currencies without actually partaking in PvP. But that's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.